You know when you feel like there's something wrong with you physically, whether like you seem to always get nausea for no reason, but you don't understand why, and then you go get a checkup, and then they're like, "Oh, it's actually because you're allergic to tomatoes," and you're like, "Oh,
Makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense," and it's almost like a relief because you have like an answer. So that's how I felt when I was finding out why I behave in certain ways. And it was in those moments I learned to be compassionate with myself and not attach shame or guilt or anger or resentment to those things. Because one, I don't think there's anybody on this planet that is going to be free from any kind of trauma or pain or hurt. Like, it's everyone's going to experience something.
Welcome. Yomi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here all the way.
My pleasure. I'm excited about our conversation today.
Before we get started, where are your people from?
My people are from Nigeria, and I came here when I was 4 years old. So I was actually born in Nigeria. And then I came to London, where I live, for since I was four. And yeah, I'm Yoruba. That's my tribe. And it's been a while since I've been back home. Like, I really need to go back. But London is also my home, but I definitely feel closer to Nigeria.
Tell me more about what it's like being the child of immigrants.
Well, I'm an only child. So growing up, when we first came here, one of my first memories was actually being at a childminder's a lot. I don't know if you have that in America or you like, it's a babysitter. So my mom, when she came here, she had like loads of jobs. So she couldn't obviously watch me all the time. So my first core memories are always being at a babysitter's because I'll be there 2 weeks at a time. So I have a lot of different influences from all the places that I've stayed. So I've got Caribbean influences, I've got Indian influences. So all those different cultures have kind of made me. So I'm like a melting pot of different cultures. So yeah, and growing up here as an immigrant, it's weird because I never really saw myself as an immigrant. I didn't know what that label was when I was growing up. It's only in adulthood when I was just like, oh, actually, hold on a second. I wasn't born here. So technically, I am an immigrant. But I don't know. I kind of have a funny feeling towards labels sometimes because I feel like sometimes when labels have certain connotations and then you attach that label to yourself, you now embody those connotations. And I feel like in the UK here, especially, the word immigrant has a lot of negative connotations. But for me personally, like I have loved living in London. I've never really had any major problematic issues. I don't know whether that's partly ignorance or, just being a very carefree child. Or my mum didn't really talk about certain issues with me. So maybe that's why I didn't see them. Maybe they were there and I just didn't know. But looking back, my kind of memory of growing up in London was actually quite cool.
I love that. And I would argue that, yeah, technically you are an immigrant, but because you came here so young and it wasn't on your decision. It was like, pack your bag, be out, right? A 4-year-old really can't make a lot of decisions. I would argue that maybe your experience is more like people whose parents immigrated to London and you were the first ones because you got here so young.
Yeah, definitely. I think my mum's experience is completely different. I think my mum looks at it like it was a very hard time. Like it was a struggle. Like she was going through a lot. But it's so interesting because I feel like sometimes with children, because they don't always see the struggle, feel the struggle in their mind, it's like, oh, do you know what? I had a really good childhood. But then in the parents' mind, because they're protecting the child from all of those things, we don't really see it. So I know that my experience and my mum's experience are like, complete ends of the spectrum. But I think seeing what my mum went through, the older I got, the more I understood certain things, and it made me really appreciate her resilience and strength. Because to come to a country where you don't really know anyone, we don't really have that many extended family. You're basically on your own to start from scratch, to go back to school and then still do well for herself. Like hats off to her because moving countries is not a easy, simple thing.
It's not a hop, skip, and a jump.
Exactly, exactly. So hats off to her for that. But that whole thing comes with so many underlying issues because I think because when I came here, my mum was so busy working and I was with child minders, babysitters, it meant that I didn't really have that like initial child mother bond with my mum because I wasn't with her a lot. So I think growing up, sometimes we would like knock heads because I didn't feel like she understood me. But that's like a whole another different topic because I feel like that's a generational thing as well. So yeah.
Oh, it is. I am recently a mom, and when I look at my kid, who I tell people constantly, she is a bougie black fairy from Wakanda, disguised as a little girl, get her identity right. But that personality is coming out, and I am not an immigrant mother. I am a black mother in California, and I can already see because of that personality, which allegedly is like mine, but like people be lying. I rebuke it. I'm not like that. I can see it. I don't want to say that my daughter and I are going to do this, but I can see because of her strong will of like, well, I want to do what I want to do and I know everything and I'm curious. I can already, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that.
I think as well, culturally, that also had an impact on my upbringing. And the reason I say that is because I feel like in our culture, there's this unsaid thing where it's like children should be seen and not heard, that kind of vibe, and how adults are always right. So never question an adult, never speak back, which kind of, when you're an only child and you don't have siblings to soundboard off, you start becoming a little bit more introverted and you internalize everything because everyone on the outside is telling you can't speak out. So everything on the outside is saying can't speak out, silence yourself, don't talk, no, don't talk back to me, da, 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 da. So I grew up for the longest time just not really knowing myself because I wasn't allowed to vocalize anything. So I didn't actually really start my journey of self-discovery till my 30s, which I know to a lot of people, they might be like, how? And then I was thinking about it the other day and I was just like, it's because when I was in my mum's house, couldn't really talk there. Then I started getting into relationships and then that's got its whole nother, like,
Oh, girl, that's like 3 more episodes. I could, ooh,
exactly. So then I've got that chunk of my 20s being in relationships. So then they were kind of like distractions when I look back because it doesn't really allow you to dig deep in yourself because you're kind of focused on, another person. So then when I was single mid 30s, that allowed me to actually be like, oh, okay, no distractions. There's no relationship. I'm not at my mom's house, so I can be vocal. So now let's get to know who Yomi is. And literally, that's what I've been doing the whole time. This has just been a journey of self-discovery, and I've loved it, honestly.
I think that, so I actually started my journey of official self-discovery, in my mid 20s, because I was working and everybody in my life was like, you have this good job. You graduated from university. You should be happy. Girl, I was so unhappy and I couldn't figure out why. Because you would argue, well, if you're unhappy, why are you unhappy? And then how do we fix that? How do we fix that thing? How do we get that thing out your life? How do we update that thing? But to just sit there and say, I'm unhappy, the hardest part is identifying what the root of that is. And so the world was telling me I shouldn't be unhappy. And I was very unhappy. And I went on this 2-3 year self-discovery journey and it changed my life. It changed how I dated. It changed my friendships. There were a few friendship divorces.
That's another podcast.
Girl, which I would argue divorcing a friend is 85 times harder than divorcing a man. Right? I tell my male friends and my husband that on a daily basis. Yeah, this is cute, but what's really gonna hurt? Not you leaving, but so and so, right? Of course, men don't get that because they've been taught that our worlds revolve around them, and it's remind men that's actually not how this works. But okay, and so it's a healing journey for me, and part of making that journey was setting up some boundaries for self, and setting up some personal boundaries for those friendship divorces, and setting up some serious boundaries because these people not gonna kill me. So what has been your experience with setting boundaries in this self-discovery journey?
The whole boundaries thing, it's funny because I always kind of thought I had them. And then when I actually leaned into boundaries, I was like, damn, I have actually not had a single boundary this whole time. And things started to make sense. I was like, oh, okay, so that's why that happened. That's why I was in that situation. That's why I felt that way. And then I was just like, I had this epiphany one day and I was just like, okay, cool. So I'm going to set my boundaries up, which are basically limitations I put in place to protect my peace, time, and energy. I never looked at it like that before. I always thought having a boundary meant that people either wouldn't like you or they were going to leave, or, it was giving people a reason to not connect or engage with you. But then I realized that the people who are meant to be in your life will respect your boundaries and they will be there. And once I discovered this, I was just like, yeah, things feel a lot better within me because I didn't have boundaries before. I found that I was resentful. I found that because I wasn't honoring my feelings, I wasn't honoring myself, I became slightly angry. But then how can you be angry at people that don't even know, what they've done, or you haven't vocalized anything. You just said, yeah, sure, I'll do that thing. But inside you're like, why are they asking me for? Why, So I just realized, just be vocal and just say, look, okay, I might be free now, but I'm not able to do that thing that you're asking me to do, but I could probably do it another time. So just because I'm free doesn't mean you have access to me. Because a lot of the time people think because they'll be like, oh, are you doing anything? Can you talk? And it's just like, I might not be doing anything, but I don't necessarily want to talk, and that's okay. Like, I don't have to talk to you at that time. So just simple things like that knowing that I'm not going to answer certain calls after 9 p.m. and that's okay. I'm not going to respond to certain emails and certain phone calls. And I've even applied that to business, because having boundaries in business as well is so helpful, because even with certain customers, if you kind of set the precedent with certain things, they are always going to feel entitled to that thing. So if you're responding to work emails at 11 o'clock at night, midnight, 1 a.m. in the morning, the next time they message you at 10 p.m. and you haven't responded within a certain amount of time, even though it's 10 p.m., they're going to be like, what the hell? Like, and then now it's that situation now falls on you and then you feel bad and it's just a mess. So boundaries, I'm all for boundaries.
When you first started speaking, you said that you used to think you had boundaries. So what did that thinking I had boundaries look like? That's actually a very interesting observation.
I think it's because I thought I had an opinion on something at the time. So if someone said, can you do something? I'm thinking, because I've made the decision of yes and no, then I must want to do that thing. So therefore, because I want to do that thing, I'm okay with it. So I've had the thought process. So the thought process has made me think that I have that boundary because I've made the decision. But then I've realized that I am a recovering people pleaser. So just because I said yes, it doesn't mean I actually want to do it. So now I take the time to process the questions before I give an immediate answer, because I'm so used to, because of the way that I was raised and because I had to be so careful in terms of just the emotions around me in order to just survive the household. I'm very quick to say yes to something because I just feel like, okay, well then, it means that the person's going to love me or they're going to like me. So it's always like, oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And I start to think, no, not yes, sure. Do you even want to do that thing? Because now you've put yourself out and now you're cussing in your mind like, oh, now I have to go and do that thing. I shouldn't have said yes. And so once I kind of like caught hold of that and I realized that is something I need to sit on. I need time to, I'm a processor. I need time to process. And I know that doesn't work for some people, but it works for me. And that's who I am. And I think that in past relationships, that has been a problem sometimes, because whereas if we're arguing, I just want to come to a solution, but I need time to process what's just happened so that we can talk now maturely, amicably, calmly. Whereas that person wants the answer now. They want it resolved there and then. So I've been in situations and relationships where I'm just like, do you know what? I'm processing this. Let's talk about this later. And then I've gone into another room. They will follow me into the other room and literally be like, no, I want to discuss this now. I want to, and I'm just like, wow, okay, no, I'm not feeling this. Whatever this is, I know it's not sitting well within my spirit. Yeah, it's just those little things. And it made me realize that when you're in a relationship, you also need to have good conflict resolution styles is what I call it. They need to be aligned. Like, how do you guys resolve stuff? Is it aligned? Because some people want to shout, they want to resolve it now. Some people want, time to process, and then they want to talk it out. If you both are on different ends of the spectrum when it comes to that conflict resolution stuff, that's a big problem.
So I will say, I'm going to challenge this. I am the person in a relationship that I want to solve it right now. I am a very fast processor to my detriment. And I think it comes from this place of, I just want peace. So when something's not right, I just want to make it peaceful again as quickly as possible. I don't like sitting in discomfort.
Okay, that makes sense.
Sitting in a house knowing that I hate you right now and you hate me. Like, can we go back to at least, like, we don't got to be lovey-dovey, but at least some neutral? Because what happens is that if I sit there and process, I over-process. And I go from we're fighting over toothbrushes to we're breaking up and never going to be together. And I need to call the lawyer to figure out the assets. Like, it just goes 0 to 100. So the sooner that we resolve, I don't go there emotionally. And what I've had to do, because I'll be frank, I've been in relationships with people that I feel like have taken advantage of that. And so what they do is they weaponize it, and they'll be like, I have to process. As a person who's doing my healing work, I respect that. But then they take it and they'll process for like 3 days because they know it irritates me.
Right. I see.
Form of abuse. So what I've had to learn is communication. And just be very honest and vulnerable about, like, this is who I am. This is how I may or may not process. And if you are a processor, you need to tell me how long you need to process. Like, you just can't say, like, I'm going to get back to you, because in past relationships, people have used that to my detriment on purpose. Right. And I had to learn with setting boundaries that I'm actually not a great communicator, because, girl, as you know, like, you can set them in your head.
Yeah, now you got to vocalize it, and then the actions have to follow. It's like,
And I think that's the hard part about boundaries, is not the identification of them, but like, oh, you have to go tell them that. And that's where I get really bad. So tell me about that. How did you teach yourself, develop that skill of actually vocalizing those boundaries?
So if I'm being honest, so basically when I started my self-discovery journey, I was just like, okay, I feel like I need to discuss this with someone. It can't all be in my head. Like, I need some kind of external, back and forth. So I thought, let me look into getting a therapist. And then we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start from childhood, and we're going to go all the way to now. So I got a therapist that specializes in like childhood traumas, So, because then I realized that therapists actually specialize in things. I thought a therapist just covers everything. And then when I was in my 30s, I was like, oh, you've got therapists for this and a therapist for that. So I found the right therapist for me at the time. And then we just started from the beginning and then worked our way all the way up to my 30s. And then boundaries came up. And it was her that helped me. She was the one that helped me. And she told me that, okay, well, boundaries are a way to kind of like protect yourself and also protect your nervous system, because most people don't realize that your body responds as well to to not having lack of boundaries. So when your nervous system is doing flips and loops and doing all of that stuff, and you're like, what's going on? You can usually link it to like, there's been a boundary that hasn't been adhered to, right? So I used to say to her, like, but how does that look like for me when I'm communicating it to someone else? And she explained to me how that looked like. And then we went through different scenarios. We did role plays. Because my thing is like texting it, not as bad. Like messaging about, okay, not as bad. But when you're in face to face with the person and it's like an immediate, you have to give an immediate reaction and an immediate thought process. And me, that I'm such a slow processor, I struggle with like immediate responses. Like it's weird because you saying you're a fast processor, it's like a part of me wishes I was like that. Because I feel like if I was able to process things quickly, I could move on from stuff a lot faster rather than sitting on it, ruminating. And to your point, when you said that it's fair when the person who likes to process, lets the other person know, okay, I just need time to think about it. Give me a day and then I'll get back to you. That's completely understandable. I think also looking at different attachment styles, because I've realized that my attachment style in relationships and in friendships are often different, very different to the other person. So whereas I have like an anxious avoidant attachment style, most of my previous partners have an anxious attachment style. So I can understand for them being with someone like me, who's like, oh, I need time to process. And they're like, oh my God, I need answers now. They must have, no wonder they behaved the way that they did. Like, because that's going to make the person go a bit, they're going to spiral.
I think for me, it's the, oh my gosh, I said my boundary, or I said I didn't like that. And then they didn't like that. And then they want to process. So does that mean they want to leave me? Does that mean that we're never going to be friends again? Does that mean that this romantic relationship is going to be over? Well, do I want it to be over? Because if I do, blow it up, sis. But if I don't, oh my gosh, like they're just sitting there in a dark room thinking to themselves, are they going to text somebody and be like, Lexi's the worst thing ever? Like, this is what happens naturally in my head. And with therapy, I've had to learn, but for the record, y'all, I'm old and I'm a mom now and I'm married. And for it still happens in my head. I've just gotten a little bit better about how to control it and tame it. But um, that's what happens for real.
Yeah, because look, healing doesn't have an endpoint. Like I always say, it's a forever journey. It's not like, I'm going to do these 3 things. This is my method moving forward. And now I'm magically healed. And now I'm never going to be triggered. And life is going to be like, do you know what I mean? All good. It's a constant thing. I think with therapy has given me the tools to manage certain things. It's given me the vocabulary to understand certain things. And it's given me the safe space for myself. It's taught me to be compassionate with me, because a lot of the inner voices we have, especially the critical one, is actually other people's opinions that you've internalized from childhood. And it's just, they've just kept on playing. They've just kept on playing in your head. And I am learning, it's taken years, but I've started to learn how to stop the voice. Well, recognize the voice first and be like, okay, that's not me. Stop it. And then replace it with something else. And by doing that, I feel like the season I'm in now is the season of just me falling in love with me. Like literally all of me, like the flaws, because no one's perfect, right? Everyone has flaws. So loving myself, flaws and all, it sounds very cliche and woo-woo, but, but I found that just loving myself has allowed me to just be less tolerant to BS. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, because you just don't have to.
yeah, you're like, actually, no, I don't deserve that. And to be honest with you, I don't have to stick around, because that was one of my biggest things. I was like, I don't actually have to stay here and be around this. I can actually pick up my bag and go. And that's fine. But, there's some situations, some friendships rather, because I've realized as well that because I grew up in a critical household, that was familiar to me in terms of like I attached love to being with someone else highly critical. It meant that some of the relationships that I've been in, actually only one relationship in particular that was like that, where it felt familiar to be with someone that made me feel bad almost, because that's what I was used to. Whereas the me now, oh, hell no. Oh, you could never. I'm telling you now, it's like, it's so weird how you can look at the person that you were in your past and it can be like a complete different person. You're like, who was that person?
Tell me about when you started your therapy journey, or just started the self-discovery journey in general, with or without a therapist, and you started connecting the dots of the root of a lot of behavior. I know for me, that was the most transformative conversations when I was like, yo, so I do this because of this one thing, or I tolerate this because of this one person. It still blows my mind today, the roots of my stuff. But tell me about that for you.
I think when I started to realize certain things and I had that epiphany and I was just like, oh, okay, so that's where my trigger comes from. That's why I behave like that. I found it kind of peaceful in a way. It's like, you know, when you feel like there's something wrong with you physically, whether like, I don't know, like you seem to always get nausea for no reason, but you don't understand why. And then you go get a checkup and then they're like, oh, it's actually because you're allergic to tomatoes. And you're like, oh,
Makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense. And it's almost like a relief because you have like an answer. So that's how I felt when I was finding out why I behave in certain ways. And it was in those moments I learned to be compassionate with myself and not attach shame or guilt or anger or resentment to those things. Because one, you know, I don't think there's anybody on this planet that is going to be free from any kind of trauma or pain or hurt. Like, you know, it's everyone's going to experience something. So, because to be honest, in times when I am feeling a bit like hopeless or, you know, feeling anxious or whatever, I try to remind myself that there's someone else that's gone through this. Like, I'm not the only person on this planet that's gone through the thing. And for some reason, it makes me feel better. I don't know why, but it just reminds me that, oh, okay, well then, if that person can get through that, then I can get through this situation. There is light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. And life goes on.
What about relationships? When you started on the self-discovery journey intentionally and you started getting to know you more and also just communicating you more to people, did the relationships in your life change?
My self-discovery journey started after my last relationship. So looking back, when I look at my relationships now, firstly, I can see the areas where I was wrong. So taking accountability was number one for me, and understanding why certain behaviors occurred based on how I could be, right? Like my attachment style, so on and so forth. And it's made me less tolerant. So I find that dating now is very interesting because whereas before, I would have been someone's girlfriend based off the fact that, oh, we get along really well. It's good vibes. So when they're like, oh, I want you to be my girlfriend, I'll be like, yeah, cool. We get along. It's fine. Da, 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 da. Whereas me now, if you're like, I want you to be my girlfriend, I'll be like, okay, let me process. I need to process. Just, do you know what I mean? I'm like, let me think about this. Da, da, da. So I'm less reluctant to give my all to a situation until I really understand if this situation is what I want in all the areas. And another thing I've realized as well with dating is that before, when I used to look at like, okay, well, not that I have a list, but okay, I want this, 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 and this in a person. Now I look at like, I want them to make me feel this, this, and this. I want to feel this, this, and this in a person. Yeah. And then also prioritize my non-negotiables of my feelings. So for example, I know that my next long-term partner, I want to feel valued. Like I want to feel respected. So it's more feelings, you know, whereas if, I mean, yeah, you could go with someone who's all these things, they're tall, they're da 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 da, but then you're still left feeling that void because they're not pouring into you feelings wise. So I'm still going to feel empty. So what's the point?
Let's continue to go deeper on that feeling. I've never heard someone say that before. About it's not about the list of like I want them to do, but I want to feel a certain way. So we can sit here and say, I want to feel valued. Does that mean we also have to do the work to understand what that looks like? Like if I wake up and say, I want to feel valued, I also probably need to know examples of what that looks like. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think because first you have to know yourself. So exactly, otherwise you won't know the feeling. So you know yourself, you attach it to the feeling so that when someone else now, you know, evokes that feeling in you, you know exactly what it is. You know, this is me feeling valued. This is me feeling desired. This is me feeling whatever it is that is, top of your list, that's really a non-negotiable. That feeling because you've done the work, so you can attach it to that. But I think that just comes with time. I think that if I didn't have this period of being single, if I'm being honest, I don't think I would have ever come to this realization. I don't think I would have, because I feel like when you're in relationships, especially the type of relationships I was in, it's like you're just so focused on each other. So it's less focus on you. And I don't know, maybe people by the time they're in their 30s, they feel like they know each other, or they know themselves already. So they don't feel like they need to go on a self-discovery journey, because it's like they've done that already in their 20s. But for me, I've always been a late bloomer, always. So it just seems, I'm not surprised. It just seems right that it's happening now.
What about your friendships? Have they changed? Or I don't want to use the word changed. Have they evolved?
I think they have. I call them legacy friendships. The ones where you've known them since you were a child. And because you've known them that long, it's almost like that is a good enough friendship. Like that's a good enough basis to keep the friendship. I have known you since I was 10. Therefore, even though we haven't spoken in 5 years, you're still my close friend. Whereas me now, the way I've kind of rearranged my friendships is I have my core friends, and then anybody outside of that I consider an acquaintance. And that's a recent change that I've made, because it means that I can pour into those friendships properly. And then anyone outside of that, it's kind of like, I don't take anything personal, because I know what category I'm in and what category you're in. So if you're having an event or doing your birthday dinner and I'm not invited, I'm not taking it personally, because I don't consider you part of my core friendships. You're an acquaintance. So that's cool. And if I don't invite you to my birthday, that should be also cool. But with my core friends that I pour into, they're my friends that I know have the best intentions for me. Because listen, when I tell you, I have been through some friendships where I didn't realize till it was too late that they did not have good intentions towards me, and that there was jealousy there. And it's so interesting because it took other people coming to me to tell me that. I remember a friendship in particular where I had 3 separate people come up to me. 2 of them were guys. And guys pick up on these things very easily. So, and then one of them was like a female friend, and they all don't know each other, which was yeah. So they all don't know each other, but
so 3 different people in 3 different incidents were like, girl, this don't.
But in my mind, I was just like, oh no, she's cool. I'm defending her. I'm like, oh no, you just misunderstood her. She's da, da, da. So it took about another year after that. And I was just like, a few things happened. And then I said, yeah, this girl blatantly sees me as competition. For the life of me, I don't know why, because we're both in the same situation. Do you know what I mean? We're both like, it's not like any one of us is doing better than the other. We're both in the same situation. So I couldn't fathom why she would see me like that. And I think that's why I didn't see it coming. But when people started pointing things out, I started to see certain things. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. All right. I know what to do with this. So I just slowly distanced myself away. But this was me in my 20s. So now the way I would approach that would be different. I think if I really valued the friendship, I'll probably have a conversation with them about it. But if I don't value the friendship, I'll just slowly to kind of like distance myself away. I have this internal struggle sometimes between having the conversation and just distancing yourself. Do I have the conversation or do I distance? Like, I still have that internal battle sometimes.
It's a process. I think that some situations warrant a conversation. In some situations, what I do is when I tell people to be blessed, that's my conversation. And when I stop responding to text messages, or it takes me 2.5 weeks to respond to a text message, like, I need you to read the tea leaves. Like, I need you and your ancestors to know that this is not for me. And you, the other person, I told somebody a couple days ago, I said, sometimes letting people go is also loving them, because they deserve to use their time someplace else. They deserve to pour their energy into someone else. If you already have decided it's not going to be you. This was fantastic and an important conversation. But before you go, reintroduce yourself to us. Who are you?
So I'm Yomi. I'm the founder of a sustainable beauty brand called The Wig Bar London. And we basically provide wig care and repair services to wig wearers worldwide. So basically, if you have any issues with your wigs or hair extensions that might make you think, you know what, it's ready for the bin, we're the ones that you come to fix it.
I love it. And I want to honor the fact that the Black hair care industry is a multi-billion-dollar business that is systemically not owned by Black people. And so what you are doing is revolutionary. And if you haven't heard it from somebody, girl, you go hear it from me. What you are doing is revolutionary. You take up space in an industry that 100% of the consumer is the Black diaspora dollar, but we own less than 1% of it. And so for you as a Black human, for you as a Black woman, to stand there and say, what we not going to do today is continue giving diaspora money to people who don't actually have the historical, ancestral, spiritual narrative around our hair care is very beautiful. So keep doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.